Hi guys, welcome back to Philip Draws Comics. I'm Philip. That's my hand drawing on the screen right now. Today I thought we'd do something a little different. As you know, if you watched the last video, I was looking at Bruce Timm designs for characters and drawing them in a more realistic style. And I just had so much fun looking at Bruce Timm's drawings that I thought, today let's just do that. I don't draw or make these videos over the weekend, so sometimes my first day coming back feels a little daunting, and it's easy to give myself something easy to work on. So the idea of just copy and pasting some Bruce Timm drawings sounded like a fun little project for today. So right now we're starting out with the Martian Manhunter, or John Jones, or John Jones, depending on how you like to pronounce it. We're going off of this promotional image from the original Justice League cartoon series. John's a character I really like in the DC animated universe. He's an alien from Mars, and he's got a tragic backstory. So, from combination of those two things, he becomes the, at times, zen, calm member of the team, and then at other times, the sort of cold-hearted, analytical sort of Spock of the crew. I'm a big fan of legacy characters or legacy actors, and the actor Carl Lumbly, who does the voice of John on the Justice League animated series, would later go on to, in the live-action Supergirl show, play the father of Martian Manhunter. That's kind of like having Christopher Reeve show up on Smallville. It's always fun when when actors get to either reprise characters in other medium or when they get recognized for what they bring to a character and are allowed to come back in other iterations. This was a fun series of drawings to work on today. The Bruce Timm style is, if you're not big on art, basically if I had to describe it to my mother or what have you, it's a very blocky style. It's very distinct. When you're doing animation versus a comic book, you have to be very specific on the designs for each aspect of a character: nose, mouth, eyes, so that hundreds of different animators can be consistent across the board drawing, so the character always looks like the character, no matter what animator or animation studio is working on it. That makes it kind of fun when you're drawing these still images. You have a very distinct set of features that you have to work with for each character. And you would think drawing in this simpler style would be easier than the more detailed drawings I normally do for this channel. But plot twist, it's actually more difficult, because the more detail you have on an image, the more lines you have, the better chance that one of those lines is going to give that drawing a good shape. But the less lines you have on a drawing, the more important it is that each individual line be in the exact right spot. And if something's just a little bit off, it will stand out. Right now we're coloring in Batman, and I always have a hard time when I'm doing these cartoon Batmans. I always try unconsciously to draw big, wide Spider-Man eyes on Batman, or eyes that are properly human size, but still with the Spider-Man, half moon shape. The Justice League Unlimited TV series is a piece of what they call the overall DC animated universe. That's a whole series of shows that were worked on basically by the same crew of guys throughout the 90s. It generally is easy to distinguish from the art style. Bruce Timm was the main lead character designer for all these different shows, and so all these different character designs carry his DNA in them. Right now we're drawing Batman, and Batman is the first piece in the overall DC animated universe. Batman, the animated series, was a wildly successful cartoon show that came out around the time of Batman Returns in the early 90s, sort of piggybacking on the success of the Tim Burton Batman movies. And it ended up doing a pretty remarkable thing. It stood out of the shadows of the movie that it basically existed because of, and has gone on to be pretty much regarded as the definitive interpretation of the character of Batman. That same actor, Kevin Conroy, voiced the character of Batman through Batman the Animated Series during guest spots on the Superman cartoon show, the Static Shock cartoon show, the various Justice League shows, and Batman Beyond. So, unfortunately, Kevin Conroy passed away a few years ago, but he, too, is considered the definitive version of the character. And speaking back to what I was talking about earlier, he even got the opportunity to play a live-action version of Batman in the CW Crisis on Infinite Earths. Won't go too far into details there. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it. But just like Carl Lumbly was a voice actor who got to appear on the CW shows playing a live-action iteration of a character he started doing in animation. These two drawings relied heavily on marker. I wish I had I've only got a couple of markers. So the green on Martian Manhunter was darker than I would have liked, and the blue was too dark for Batman. So I had to go back with the whiteout pen and sort of put some highlights on there. I need to go and find myself a wider range of markers to work with. But because of that, this next drawing you're going to see is going to be done entirely in pencil. No pen or marker on any of this. And right now we're drawing the character of Hawkgirl. I'm going to be using this pose for the drawing and this particular outfit. This is at the time during the Justice League Unlimited show. Hawkgirl had, again, spoilers, had turned her back on her native Thanagarian heritage. And so she stopped wearing classic Thanagarian clothes and wears what essentially is just kind of like a two-piece gym yoga outfit. I actually like that, though. I've spoke about it on the channel before, having characters in superhero shows wearing more realistic clothing versus, what can come across looking like a Halloween costume at times. The Batman and Martian Manhunter were just copy and pasted from other Bruce Timm drawings. This one I'm going to be trying to make it a little more complicated for myself, borrowing the pose of one drawing and putting a different outfit and hairstyle and everything on it to make it a new drawing. And it's been a while since I've drawn in Bruce Timm style, and sad to say, I fell back into an old bad habit. I didn't mark out the drawing as good as I should have at the start. You saw me doing the circles for the head and the hips and the torso and everything, but I should have taken more time to block out the shoulders and the legs and the hips. So this has a lot of simple shapes on it, but I think it could have benefited from having a more three-dimensional, underwire going through the whole image. This makes it a little flatter than I would have liked, but overall I'm happy with how all of these drawings did. Really enjoy drawing Bruce Timm style. It's a very distinctive style. May try drawing more as this channel goes along, maybe bounce back and forth between different styles as I just sort of try them out for myself and see what sticks and what I like. Because I didn't use inks on this drawing like I did on the other ones, I was forced to kind of figure out how I wanted to outline the image. First thought was to take just a black colored pencil and redraw basically ink it with a black colored pencil. But as I was looking at the images I was using as references, I realized that the outlines on the drawing didn't have black outlines. They had color specific outlines. So for example, on her skin, I'm using a light brown colored pencil instead of black to make it stand out more. That way the various colors don't get lost if the same color is sitting on top of another part of the body that has the same color. But here I finally bust out the black colored pencil and start filling in the black portions of her outfit. I'm going to take the yellow here now and do the same thing. Bruce Timm as an artist is famous for his drawings of the female form. He took a lot of inspiration from Dan DeCarlo, who did the classic Betty and Veronica. There's a lot of different artists worked on those Archie comics over the years, but I think Dan DeCarlo gets credit as the premier artist for drawing particularly Betty and Veronica, although he kind of gives rise to that classic joke about they both look exactly the same, they just have different hairstyles and different colors. But when Bruce Timm was trying to figure out how to draw women for Batman the Animated Series, another artist who worked on the project, Lynn Naylor, he's credited her with sort of breaking down the things you need to draw, cute girls for animation. If you want to get more into the works of Bruce Timm, I can highly recommend a book called Modern Masters, Volume 3 by Tomorrow's Press. It's I think you probably have a hard time finding a physical copy of that these days, but if you go to Tomorrow's website, you can buy a digital PDF, and it's Bruce Timm is one of those artists who, when you hear him talk or read, he's a very good storyteller, whether he's drawing or not. So the whole book is one long form interview with him and one of the editors of Tomorrow Publishing, and it's a real fascinating look behind the scenes of not only animation in the 90s, but comic book producing in the 90s too, because Bruce Timm and his writing partner, Paul Dini, did several comic books set in the Batman Animated Series universe. Paul Dini was the writer, and Bruce Timm went and drew them, including the famous Mad Love comic, which explains the origin of the character Harley Quinn. The what you could call the Timm-verse sort of ended in the early 2000s, around 2005-ish. It's made a comeback every now and again. They'll crank out something new. They'll do a Justice League cartoon in the Bruce Timm style and have it set in that universe. There's another one when one of the Suicide Squad live action movies came out. There was a Batman and Harley Quinn movie that was made by Bruce Timm, and it takes place in the DC animated universe. Over the years, a lot of different interpretations of DC have met with they've been divisive for fans. The CW shows or the Snyderverse movies, but I've never met or heard from anyone who disliked the work of Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and Alan Burnett and all those guys on the DC animated universe. It seems like the DC animated universe is widely regarded as probably the best version of the characters outside the comics, and to some degree, maybe even inside the comics. Right now, we got the references coming up. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe. I do a couple of videos every week. Let me know what you think about the ones in today's video, and if you have any suggestions for who you'd like to see me draw next, either in a realistic style or a cartoon style, let me know.